How critical will it be for South Australian contact tracers today?
This is really a very important day to kind of work out whether we've got it reasonably under control or whether the horse has bolted a lot more than we thought. I think we reflect back to what happened in Victoria, when really what initially looked like a few cases turned out to be really a large number of cases which had been sort of developing under the hood for quite a long period of time. So today we're going to find out. But there is cautious optimism at this stage because there has only been one case, and that was predicted. So far, so good.
And just with that one new case, yesterday there were suggestions that perhaps this could be a second wave for South Australia. But given so far that cluster is only at 20, is that no longer a consideration?
No, look, I don't think it's completely over as a possibility, but I think that at this stage it's looking better rather than worse. And I've had some basically independent inside information from people that have actually looked at what was happening with the initial response in Victoria versus what's happened in South Australia. And they feel that really it's been pretty textbook, and there really has been a very, very strong contact tracing effort so far here, which has hopefully got to the majority of cases. So there's been a lot of thumbs up so far from the people behind the scenes that I've been speaking to. So far, so good. But nevertheless, there has been this need to continue the testing, and we've seen the great numbers coming out, almost to the point where it's been difficult to keep up with. Also, significant restrictions already imposed in South Australia almost immediately, which has been, I think, important, and the quarantining a lot of people. And I think also the other thing I would like to thank is the federal government. I mean, I got a call from Michael Kidd, one of the Deputy Public Chief Medical Officers yesterday, and they've already come in and helped, which is exactly the way that the national response was supposed to occur. That the federal government was supposed to look at a potential hotspot and bring in some people. And so, as I understand it, some help in contact tracing has already been offered and has been accepted.
That's certainly really great to hear, and there must be some positive signs there, as you said. Just in regards to testing, Doctor, we've seen lines and people queuing up for 10 hours in some instances. What more needs to be done in that space? Because it's not encouraging to see a line of people queuing for that long. It wouldn't necessarily encourage a person to go out and get tested.
Obviously, it's not ideal, but again, we are less than 48 hours from the initial diagnosis, and really they only had yesterday to get going. Certainly, every effort would be applied to increasing that number, and I think the thing now will be also to maybe start helping to direct individuals to other testing centres across Adelaide, because that pop-up centre in Parafield, the one that's been focused on, has just appeared out of nowhere. So I think that that's right in the epicentre, and maybe the idea would be to not only bolster that one, but also start to direct people across to other potential testing options.
It reportedly has originated, this particular cluster, from a medi-hotel in South Australia, and there has been parallels drawn to the Victorian hotel quarantine saga. Do you believe that there is an issue with quarantine hotels? And from a medical perspective, how worried are you?
Look, I think the AMA has always been very worried about hotel quarantine. Obviously, we've really wanted to get as many of our fellow Australians back to Australia as quickly as possible, but we also have understood the risk. That is always going to be our highest risk, and the reason which we could be undone in our efforts. And so every single thing that can be done needs to happen. But the condition is incredibly infectious, and really we cannot relax in that area. And for a state, really, I think, which has actually led the way in hotel quarantine, for this to still get through is obviously concern. And it just shows that, despite, the putting up as tight a net as possible, one little hole can lead to major, major problems.
Yeah, certainly seems to be that way. We saw yesterday, Doctor, a number of jurisdictions close off their borders to South Australia. Given now we're seeing only one case overnight, the state seems to be on top of it, as you said. Do you believe that it was a knee-jerk reaction to shut up as quickly as possible?
Well, I can't make a comment about that. Certainly, to some degree, South Australia has also taken a very aggressive approach already with its restrictions, almost immediately. There wasn't any mucking around here. And certainly some of the other states have been relatively, let's put it, trigger happy with that. Look, I think in the longer term, we do need to find that way of actually being a bit more measured, maybe, and that's where this national coordination needs to come. But look, at this moment in time, that whole national coordination is still in process, and Australia would like to get to that point, but there's still a ways to go.
Just finally, Doctor, on another matter, the US drug manufacturer Moderna has released data showing that its experimental COVID vaccine was 94.5% effective. How promising is that?
Look, I think this is really positive news. I wish Tom was here because I could actually say that. The thing is that it's similar to the Pfizer vaccine. It's one of these newer generation mRNA vaccines, and this one does seem to have similar effectiveness. Again, we have to just wait till the end of the trials to make sure that it's totally safe. But so far, so good. And this one has the advantage, and I think from my point of view, probably being at the front line of giving it out at some stage, it has the major advantage of actually the ability to be stored at a not ridiculously low temperature, this time -20, and also being able to be sort of unfrozen and kept in a normal fridge for about a month, which is much longer than the Pfizer vaccine, which make logistics, the real practical aspects of giving it out, much more simple for us. So look, that's really positive. And to be frank, that was the bit I was looking at when the results came out. It will make the job easier. But the contracts, in terms of how Australia sits with it, is going to be interesting. We don't have quite a solid contract with that, but we do have access to it. So that's great news.